This racist doofus thinks he can swoop in and set up a dictatorship in 2024 despite having like 9 sets of handcuffs on him. First of all, he's surrounded by moronic criminal goons like Rudy Giuliani and Steve Bannon who can barely string a coherent sentence together without simultaneously committing a crime. Here, that's openly fascist rhetoric, and too many Americans have become numb to it because it's Trump, and he's a big sweaty moron who can barely string 3 words together.
Do you agree with him? If so, please comment 1 below. On late-night television, Seth Meyers, the master of the uncompromising comedy punch, unleashed a sharp satire on Donald Trump, who just became the 47th president of the United States after a dramatic victory on November 5, 2024. With his signature grin and "I told you so" eyes, Meyers painted a portrait of Trump, a racist idiot, self-proclaimed king of everything, delusional about establishing an empire in 2024 despite being shackled by a pile of lawsuits, and now, he is probably busy trying to pardon himself from the White House. Having just taken office on January 20, 2025, Trump has turned America into his comedy stage. But Meyers is not letting the former TV star off easy, a statement that is like a slap in the face, reminding us that even with the presidential crown, Trump is still a clumsy clown with messy blonde hair and an ego bigger than the Pentagon. Trump is facing a litany of legal troubles, 34 criminal counts of falsifying business records in the Stormy Daniels hush money case, sentenced May 30, 2024, plus additional charges of 2020 election interference and keeping classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. 91 counts in total from 4 pre-election cases. The phrase 9 sets of handcuffs is a humorous exaggeration, but it refers to the legal tangle that everyone thought would tie Trump to the White House. Instead, on November 5, 2024, he won the election, beating Kamala Harris by 312 electoral votes and the popular vote, 49.8%, about 77.3 million votes. Meyers' quip now takes on a new layer of meaning. Trump not only swoops down, but also triumphantly assumes the presidency for a second time on January 20, 2025, despite the legal handcuffs that Meyers mocks. Objectively, the victory is a stunning comeback. Trump is the first president since Grover Cleveland to win 2 non-consecutive terms and the first former president convicted of a crime to be elected. But Meyers is not wrong about the dictatorship dream. Since taking office, Trump has appointed loyalists like Stephen Miller as deputy chief of staff and Tom Homan as border czar, promising mass deportations and consolidating his power. The irony is that, while Meyers imagined Trump being cuffed to the point of immobility, the doofus has escaped the legal net like a magician, making the quip both right and wrong, right about ambition, wrong about failure.
First of all, he's surrounded by moronic criminal goons like Rudy Giuliani and Steve Bannon who can barely string a coherent sentence together without simultaneously committing a crime.
Meyers continues his attack by targeting Trump's henchmen, Rudy Giuliani and Steve Bannon, as moronic criminal goons who are both incoherent and criminal. Before the election, Giuliani, Trump's former personal lawyer, went bankrupt due to lawsuits related to claims of 2020 election fraud, and Bannon served a 4-month prison sentence in October 2022 for contempt of Congress. Despite having been pardoned by Trump in another case, Meyers paints them as bumbling clowns, foils to Trump's absurdity, a comical picture that was not far from the truth at the time. Now, updated to March 2025, the satire is even more bitter. Trump, after winning the election, pulled Bannon back into his circle of influence. He was pardoned again and is now an informal advisor, while Giuliani, despite his downfall, still occasionally appears at pro-Trump events. Objectively, Trump's team is not as stupid as Meyers makes it out to be. They helped him win a second term with a strategy focused on the economy and the border. But the humor is still there. Bannon, with his extreme tone, and Giuliani, with his silly statements, like the 2020 hair ink incident, are indeed goons who make Trump both scary and funny. Meyers exaggerates to make fun, but in reality, Trump still relies on these criminals to consolidate power, a comedy that America now has to watch for part 2.
Because it's Trump, and he's a big sweaty moron who can barely string 3 words together, and sometimes he dances on stage like a guy in the locker room who's trying to towel off his ball sack.
Trump is not only an idiot but also a sweaty moron, clumsy in both his words and actions. The phrase "barely string 3 words together" refers to Trump's disjointed speech style, short, repetitive phrases like tremendous, fantastic, the best, which Meyers finds both silly and despicable. The locker room dance is an obvious reference to Trump's awkward swaying on stage at rallies, like in Butler, Pennsylvania, in October 2024, after his assassination attempt, when he danced to Sweet Caroline in front of a crowd. Trump has continued to appear moron. His inaugural speeches at Mar-a-Lago were filled with awkward boasts about great victories, and he has maintained his habit of dancing awkwardly at public events, like at America Fest in Phoenix in December 2024. Objectively, this sweaty moron did not stop Trump from winning. Voters seemed to love the crudeness more than they hated it. But Meyers is right on the point. Even as the 47th president, Trump still comes across as a clown who doesn't know how funny he is. To be fair, his dancing isn't exactly polishing, but the way he sways around in a crowd is both funny and disturbing, a performance that only Trump would dare to pull off on the political stage.
But Trump is very much planning on completing his authoritarian takeover if he wins in 2024, and it's clear he's got the support of the Republican Party, which has become a movement fundamentally opposed to democracy.
Not only that, he saw Trump as not only a dictator but also a Republican Party backing him to complete his authoritarian takeover. Before the election, this was based on real signs. Trump had called for the end of the Constitution in 2022 on Truth Social, and the Republican Party supported Project 2025, a plan to consolidate presidential power, eliminate agencies like the FBI and the Department of Education, and push anti-immigration policies. Meyers saw the party no longer as a force for democracy but as a tool for Trump's ambitions. By March 2025, this satire had become a terrifying reality. After taking office, Trump was quick to act. He appointed Elise Stefanik as UN ambassador, appointed Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense, albeit controversial, and pushed through Tom Homan a mass deportation plan, signs of a centralized administration. The Republican Party, with a majority in the Senate, expected to have 53 seats after the 2024 election, and the possibility of controlling the House of Representatives, is supporting Trump almost completely, from tax cuts to environmental deregulation. Objectively, calling this anti-democratic is a bit of an exaggeration. Trump is still operating within the current legal framework, but the funny and worrying thing is that Meyers is right about the trend. The party is now a Trump army, ready for him to turn the White House into his playground. A prophetic satire, both funny and chilling.
Donald Trump delivered a speech to Congress on Tuesday that I think can best be described as interesting and exciting. Wait, sorry, I read that wrong. Interminable and excruciating. It was the longest presidential address to Congress in modern history.
Seth Meyers opened with a double twist. He pretended to praise Trump's speech as interesting and exciting, and then immediately changed it to long and painful. He confirmed that it was the longest presidential speech to Congress in modern history at 1 hour and 40 minutes, surpassing Bill Clinton's record, 1 hour and 5 minutes in 1993. Trump broke all the boundaries of length when he addressed Congress for the first time in his second term. Just over a month after taking office, Meyers turned the event into a joke, a monologue that made the audience want to go to bed early or watch Severance instead of endure it. The speech, according to the press like the BBC, was a real riot. Democratic Congressman Al Green was kicked out for booing, while Trump boasted about his election victory and listed a series of plans from tariffs to Ukraine. Objectively, Trump had a reason to prolong it. He needed to assert his power after his surprise victory over Kamala Harris, with 312 electoral votes and the popular vote. But Meyers didn't care. He called it a pandemic of boredom, as if Trump was deliberately torturing the entire country with boastful tones and meaningless numbers. The funny thing was that, despite its record length, the speech did not satisfy Democrats and was ridiculed as dumb speech, a self-inflicted shot in the foot by Trump that Meyers exploited to the fullest.
But then I watched Donald Trump's hour and 40-minute address to Congress last night, and all I can say is, from now on, you can get your news from me. Don't put yourself through this anymore. When there's a big old dumb speech like this, instead of watching, just do other things. Reconnect with family, watch Severance, or just go to bed early and dream sweet dreams about simpler times when you didn't need to take out a loan for a 3-egg omelet. Because, man, this speech, oof, you guys.
Trump has been accused of threatening to cut Social Security using fake life expectancy figures, such as 3.6 million people aged 110 to 119, or even one person aged 360. He has derided this as an outrageous lie that has been repeatedly refuted, but Trump has continued to repeat it to justify his plans to cut, possibly to fund low taxes and Elon Musk's projects. The figures Trump has presented are exaggerated due to data errors or fraud and do not reflect the reality of the Social Security program, which supports about 70 million Americans in 2024. After taking office, Trump and the Doge team began looking into streamlining the federal budget, with Social Security in their sights. However, Posts on X on March 29th to 30th show Trump claiming not to cut but to find fraud and Musk promising to increase pensions for seniors. Meyers doesn't buy it. He paints Trump as a boring old number cruncher bent on destroying a system that millions rely on, and Musk as an accomplice to the tech bros turning Social Security into loose change for crypto. Trump hasn't announced any cuts, to be fair, but his promise of no cuts contradicts the Republican Party's Project 2025 inch, a spending-cutting plan that Meyers refers to as Trump's chaotic dream. The irony is that, while Trump wants to be serious, Meyers paints him as a failed retirement bidder, both amusing and disturbing.
That was the face Rubio made last night when Trump announced that Rubio would be in charge of taking control of the Panama Canal, which I guess Rubio was finding out for the first time last night. He looks like a tourist on the F train trying not to make eye contact with a flasher.
One of the few cool moments Meyers highlights is when Trump unexpectedly assigned Marco Rubio, the new Secretary of State confirmed by the Senate in January 2025 with a 99-0 vote, to take control of the Panama Canal. Meyers mocks Rubio as shocked, with an expression like a subway passenger avoiding a guy showing off his penis. The idea sounds crazy, but it's true. Trump, in a March 4th speech, declared that the U.S. had begun to take back the canal from Panama, accusing it of unfair tolls and Chinese influence. Rubio, who has been tough on China, probably didn't expect to be dragged into this scenario on live air. By March 2025, the Panama Canal had become a point of contention. Trump threatened military action if Panama did not make concessions, sparking protests in Panama and a complaint to the United Nations. On March 4th, the Hutchison, Hong Kong, company sold 90% of its shares in the Port of Panama to an American corporation under pressure from Washington, an early victory for Trump. Meyers turned this into a joke. Rubio, from the nervous emoji in the Emoji Movie, is now the reluctant canal pirate. Objectively, Trump wanted to assert America first through this move. The canal handles 40% of U.S. containers, but how he threw Rubio into the fire made the whole world laugh, just as Meyers predicted.
Texas Congressman Al Green removed from the House chamber after standing and shaking his cane as he shouted that Mr. Trump didn't have a mandate to cut Medicaid.
The chair now directs the sergeant-at-arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
How dare he disrupt such a sacred tradition?
Meyers mocked the chaos in Congress during Trump's speech. Rep. Al Green was dragged out for opposing Medicaid cuts, while Democrats wore pink shirts, held up resist signs, and turned their backs on Trump. He mocked the dignity and respect of Congress, recalling the January 6, 2021, riot by Republicans with Viking helmets and Trump flags to expose the hypocrisy. Trump also called Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas during his speech, an old quip that Meyers found both offensive and outdated. The movie Pocahontas is 20 minutes shorter than the speech. The March 4th congressional standoff was particularly tense. According to CNN, Democrats held up anti-healthcare cuts signs and criticized Elon Musk, while Republicans chanted America for Trump. Meyers is right that Trump changed the rules. Civility died long ago when Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene disrupted Biden's speech. The funny thing is that Trump has no zinger for Al Green, just a gesture to dismiss him like an old man out of his mind. Objectively, both sides have turned Congress into a political theater, but Meyers targets Trump as the initiator of this law of the jungle, making any resistance a comedy.
How about you, House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries? Do you have a powerful nickname for Donald Trump that you think is more effective than standing up and protesting his cuts to Medicaid?
This administration is making America weaker across the world and creating the space for people like China and Russia to step in, while hurting everyday Americans. Captain Chaos and the extreme MAGA Republicans spent last year promising to lower the high cost of living and running away from Project 2025 as if it didn't exist.
Meyers mocked the Democratic response, with Hakeem Jeffries calling Trump Captain Chaos. But Meyers found the nickname too cool for Trump. He and Musk have even put it on t-shirts. He mocked Senator Alyssa Slotkin's official response, which referenced Reagan and the Cold War, a dated topic that no one cares about. To Meyers, Democrats should be pretending to fall asleep in response to a boring speech, rather than half-hearted protests like holding up signs and wearing pink shirts. Actual update, Slotkin, in his March 4th response, via BBC, actually emphasized that Trump has weakened the United States vis-a-vis China and Russia, but Meyers is right. It's not impressive. Trump, with his America First policy, has imposed 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico, halted aid to Ukraine, and pushed for immigration deportations. Democrats have not found an effective way to deal with them, leaving Meyers to make fun of them, playing pickleball instead of fighting. Objectively speaking, Trump is winning in terms of political momentum, while Democrats seem to be sleeping, just as Meyers sarcastically said. Take a quick look at the life of Seth Meyers, an American comedian, writer, and host, best known for hosting Late Night with Seth Meyers on NBC and his years as head writer at Saturday Night Live, SNL. Born on December 28, 1973, in Evanston, Illinois, Seth grew up in a middle-class family with a finance officer father and a French teacher mother. His family moved frequently between Michigan and New Hampshire during his childhood, creating a shaky foundation but also exposing him to diversity early on. After graduating from Northwestern University with a degree in theater arts in 1996, Seth began his comedy career in earnest, marking the first turning point in his tumultuous journey. One of the first notable moments was when Seth decided to leave the U.S. to join the Amsterdam improv comedy group Boom Chicago with his younger brother Josh Meyers in the late 1990s. It was a bold move. A young man from the Midwest moved to Europe, away from his family, and into a competitive art scene. In Amsterdam, he honed his acting and writing skills, working with artists such as Jordan Peele, who would later become a renowned director. There were no major public dramas during this period, but leaving a traditional academic path to pursue comedy abroad represented a significant risk in his life. Seth returned to the U.S. and joined Saturday Night Live in 2001, where he quickly rose from writer to star and finally head writer in 2006. His time at SNL was a series of ups and downs. He rose to fame as co-host of Weekend Update with Amy Poehler, but also faced intense pressure to replace iconic showrunner Tina Fey as head writer. A small but memorable drama occurred in 2008, when Seth was criticized for his comedy during the presidential campaign, particularly his segments targeting candidates like John McCain and Sarah Palin. While SNL has always been controversial, the mixed reactions from viewers and critics forced him to balance creativity with public pressure. In 2011, he hosted the White House Correspondents' Dinner, where he directly teased Donald Trump, then a businessman, about his political ambitions. Trump attended the event and was visibly upset, marking the first time Seth had directly confronted a figure he would later regularly criticize on television. Seth's biggest personal drama may have come in 2014, when he left SNL after 13 years to take over Late Night from Jimmy Fallon. It was a big move, from being a team player to being a solo host, responsible for shaping a late-night show amid fierce competition from the likes of Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel. The first episodes of Late Night with Seth Meyers received mixed reviews. Some praised the wit of his A Closer Look segments, but many felt he lacked Fallon's stage charisma. The pressure continued for several months, forcing Seth to adjust his style, ditching his traditional routines in favor of sharp political monologues, a decision that ultimately helped the show find its footing. Seth's personal life has had its share of surprises, too. He married human rights lawyer Alexi Ashe in 2013, but the wedding was nearly canceled when Alexi got food poisoning just before the wedding on Martha's Vineyard, a tense situation that Seth later recounted on air with ease. The couple has 3 children, Ashe born in 2016, Axel born in 2018, and Adelaide born in 2021. And Seth has spoken about the challenges of fatherhood during the pandemic, when he had to record Late Night from home with the kids interrupting him, a chaotic period that also showed his flexibility to adapt to the situation. More recently, Seth has continued to make headlines for his satirical takes on Trump after his 2024 election win. As an outspoken Democrat, he has not shied away from pressure from conservative audiences or social media threats, a modern form of drama that any host has to deal with when taking on powerful figures like Trump. Although there are no big Hollywood scandals, Seth Meyers' life is a journey full of turning points, from the risky decision in Amsterdam, the pressure at SNL, to defining himself in the world of late-night television. All are small dramas but enough to make a resilient and remarkable Seth Meyers.